Dear Lord and Father of mankind, forgive our foolish ways. Reclothe us in our rightful minds. In pure lives thy service find. In deeper reverence praise. In deeper reverence praise. In simple trust like theirs you heard beside the Syrian sea, the gracious calling of the Lord. Let us like them without a word rise up and follow thee. Rise up and follow thee. O Sabbath rest by Galilee, O calm of hills above, where Jesus knelt to share with thee the silence of eternity, interpreted by love, interpreted by love. Drop thy still dews of quietness till all our striving cease. Take from our souls the strain and stress, and let our ordered lives confess the beauty of thy peace, the beauty of thy peace. Breathe through the heats of our desire thy coolness and thy balm. Let sense be dumb, let flesh retire. Speak through the earthquake, wind and fire. O still small voice of calm, O still small voice of calm.
Our reading that we're going to use this morning comes from Deuteronomy chapter 30, from verse 11. This commandment that I lay on you today is not too difficult for you or beyond your reach. It is not in the heavens that you should say, who will go up to the heavens for us to fetch it and tell it to us so that we can keep it? Nor is it beyond the sea that you should say, who will cross the sea for us to fetch it and tell it to us so that we can keep it? It is a thing very near to you, on your lips and in your heart, ready to be kept. Today I offer you the choice of life and good, or death and evil. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I give you this day, by loving the Lord your God, conforming to his ways, and keeping his commandments, statutes and laws, then you will live and increase. And the Lord your God will bless you in the land which you are about to enter to occupy. But if in your heart you turn away and do not listen, and you are led astray to worship other gods and serve them, I tell you here and now that you will perish and not enjoy long life in the land which you will enter to occupy after crossing the Jordan. I summon heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I offer you the choice of life or death, blessing or curse. Choose life, and you and your descendants will live. Love the Lord your God, obey him, and hold fast to him. That is life for you, and length of days on the soil which the Lord swore to give to your forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. A stirring reading, and one that we are possibly familiar with. Deuteronomy could perhaps be seen as God's love story between the Israelites and God's self. We notice that God's love just keeps going, even when the children get it wrong. Of course, we know that the children, the Israelites, have grumbled their way through the desert since leaving Egypt and have so often gone their own way. They did at times have it very rough, and it was tough. It was also completely unknown and unprecedented for them, and was a real struggle. God continually brings them back with love to himself and is so faithful. They are often told to remember when. Remember when I brought you out of Egypt. Remember when I parted the Red Sea for you. Remember when I fed you with manna. Always enough food for each day, for yourselves and your families. Remember when I found you water. And for each person, of course, their remembrances would be different, but there would be these corporate remembrances. To remember is to remind themselves of God's presence and faithfulness, and this literally remembers each person, makes them whole again. Where we pick up the story in Deuteronomy is towards the end, where they are now going to cross the Jordan to enter the land that God has promised them. And now they are being invited to choose life. I'm wondering this morning if we could perhaps see ourselves as part of God's story. If we could see ourselves as chosen and oh so loved by God. This year has been an unprecedented year. No one thought at the beginning of 2020 that this is what the year would be like. So many different ways of doing things. Our normal has now become so different. Even then, our vocabularies become different. Words that we hardly knew before are part of it on a day-to-day basis. Isolation, quarantine, shutdown, lockdown, PPE, social distancing, elbow hugs. The Collins Dictionary of the Word was released this week, and surprisingly, it is lockdown. By anyone's imagination, this year has been a rough, tough year. Coronavirus, cases, deaths, signs, symptoms, sanitizing, hand washing, and then masks. Corruption, Black Lives Matter, more corruption. Education, power outages, Zoom, unemployment, poverty, starvation. United States elections, earthquakes, storms, hurricanes, fires. The list could go on, and we could all add our own experiences to this list. So today, I would invite you to take time in this quiet space with God, to remember, to talk about your experiences with God, to allow our emotions out to see where God has been in all of this, and then to listen with the ears of our hearts to what God is saying to us, to literally begin to be made whole again, remembered. Perhaps to choose life for ourselves and our St. Luke's parish, to think about with God what choosing life would look like. So take time this morning in the silence and solitude to relax into God's presence and be with God. You may like in the prayer time to go back to Psalm 131, but I am going to end by reading as our ending prayer 2 verses from a hymn we all know. Dear Lord and Father of mankind, forgive our foolish ways. Reclothe us in our rightful minds. In purer lives thy service find. In deeper reverence praise. Breathe through the heats of our desires thy coolness and thy balm. Let sense be dumb. Let flesh retire. Speak through the earthquake, wind and fire. O still, small voice of calm. O still, small voice of calm.